Well, hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm, where I try and figure out how to live sustainably on 300 square metres in the city. Today we're going to be in the garden because it's a beautiful sunny day. Still a bit windy, but lovely and not too cold either, so I'm looking forward to playing outside today. I've got lots of jobs to do, and excitingly it's the first seed sowing of the season. I've been doing garlic and broad beans and those types of things, but this is the first of the proper summer crops. I don't know. That's how I like to think of it. It's the peppers and my indoor tomatoes. So I'm going to be sowing those a little later on. I've also got to do my kumara harvest because they're still in the bucket and they're still alive, weirdly enough. But I need that bucket now to plant the last succession of my potatoes. I've got the last couple of spuds here chitting, and they need to go in the pot, so I need that pot. And also I did actually take some cuttings for the kumara plant. I don't know if you can see it behind me, it's looking quite a sad creature. What I generally do is I'll take cuttings off the kumara when it's still alive and then put it into some water in the conservatory. It'll grow roots, and then I pot it into some soil and it lives indoors as a sort of a house plant, if you like, for the winter, and then it's ready for me to put out into the beds when the weather is warm enough. But I took those quite early and I never really got round to putting them into soil, and they've dried out a couple of times. So I haven't been a terribly good plant parent there, but yeah, anyway, I need to take some more cuttings, so I'm hoping that it's still alive enough that I can take some cuttings and put that in some water for next year's kumara. And then we can harvest the kumara. Now, whether they've done well at all, I don't know, because we've had the most bizarre weather this year. It's been very wet. Now, whether that has been good for kumara or whether we haven't had enough sun for kumara, I don't really know. But anyway, we'll turn it up and see what's in there. I've also got to actually look. I won't do that, because what I'll do here, of course, is I'll ramble on about all the jobs I'm going to do, and then I won't do half of them. So, as usual, I will put a list of the jobs here that I am going to do today in the garden. That way, I can be sure that those are the jobs I actually will do, because I'll edit it and add that bit afterwards. So, anyway, I'll see you in the garden. First, I need to get out of my door. The courier has delivered my wood shavings. I get this package from the chuck yard, and I really honestly I only order it about maybe once a year. Would it be that much? Yes, probably once a year. So it lasts forever. What are they? Pure pine shavings, and this is what I use in my chicken coop. I use it under their perch, and it mixes with the chicken poo and then rots down into really good compost, because the shavings counteract the richness of the chicken poo. But why put it there? I don't know. Can you get out, Maggie? Have you figured our way through? I can't get out, she says. I can't get out. We'll work it out. Anyway, I'll see you in the garden. Okay, so this is my kumara down here in this pot here. It's not looking too flash, which I'd expect at this time of year, but I'm still hoping I can get some cuttings off it. Yeah, I think there's a possibility. Okay, there we go. I've put them all in water, chopped all the lower leaves off, stuffed them well in, and they will root pretty soon, I think. They're very fast, and then I can just get them into some soil this time. Then they'll be good for the summer. Okay, I'll bring you in. Okay, one bucket for potatoes. Have we got anything in here? That's always the trick, isn't it? It's a very small bucket, so maybe nothing. That, I think, this here here is the original kumara. That was what I put in this bucket. It was just a sprouting thing from the vegetable box. And yeah, I've got a heap of kumara. Let me show you. Basically, so far, all of those kumara came out of that little thing that I put into this bucket. Oh, what? Beginning of spring last year? Yes, they're pretty pleased with that. I don't know if you can see the harvest in here. I mean, it's not a lot, but it was only that 130-litre bucket, that original tiny kumara, which basically I think that came from my daughter's vegetable box, and it started to sprout. So that shriveled up, but it's given me all these, and I've done nothing with it. I literally just put it in a bucket with some old compost from the chicken coop and food. Yay! Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of that soil in the bucket, and then I've got some worm castings that the husband got out of the worm bin this last weekend. So I've got some worm castings. I'll take a little bit of chicken poo compost and reuse some of this compost into my potato bucket, and then actually I'm going to use this soil now to mound up the rest of the potatoes which need mounding up. Excuse me. Hello, girly girlies. Hello, yes. Need some compost. Need some compost. There, biscuit. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, so that's the compost from the chicken coop in there now. That's got organisms, and it's really sort of healthy stuff and lots of chicken poo. I've got some material from the worm farm as well, so that'll go in. A little bit of that. I'm also going to put in a little bit of potash from the fire. So I'm just going to put them here. They've got these little eyes on them, so I shall put the little eyes facing upwards like that. Just put them in and just cover them with about a centimetre or two of soil, and then leave them to start. And then a little bit more of that just to cover. Just need to put a label in there, and that's done. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is actually plant up more of these baskets. I actually bit the bullet and went and bought these from Mitre 10 because I found one on the side of the road, and it did so well for growing my peas in that I bought one, and that's doing so well that I thought I'd get 2 more because I've got room on Crystal Palace to hang 2 more baskets. So I got the sturdy ones, the more robust ones that look like they're going to last longer, and hopefully these will grow vegetables for me for a very long time. Anyway, what we need to do is fill it with a bit of compost, and then after that, where's my seeds? Seeds! Oop. Where are my peas? Haven't got my peas. I'll have to go and get my peas. Okay, so I have filled them up with a bit of old compost, and I've also added in some sheep pellets which I had in the shed, which were not really doing anything, so I've added those in as well. And now I'm just going to sow the peas across the top, and then I just push them in really with my finger. I put a fair amount on, a little bit of space in between. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. Yeah, just a few. Something like that. Hopefully you can see that. Just a little bit like that, and then I just poke them in with my finger, cover them up, and then I'll water them in and put them in the cold frame. That's it, job done. Well, actually I should tell you what I'm sowing. This time I'm sowing some sugar, they're dwarf sugar snap peas, but I've also, the other ones are full-size peas, and they just basically trail over, and instead of climbing up they trail over, and they flower and produce this the same. But I just happen to have these dwarf sugar snap peas, so I thought I'd give these a whirl. Well, I have to admit to having run out of time and steam and a bit of daylight. So what I've done is I've filled the seedling trays with compost ready for tomorrow morning, and then I shall just basically sow the seeds in that tomorrow and set them off in the living room, because obviously they need warmth to germinate. But I also wanted to show you my new finds. That pot there, side of the road, let me point to it, this one here. Found that on the side of the road, so pretty pleased with that. And also those two little troughs. Now you can see they're not terribly big, so they would obviously, in our weather, they would dry out really quickly if they were outside. But I'm just wondering whether I can do something, just clean them up and maybe do something in the conservatory, just to sort of put some pots in. That might be quite nice. The two pea baskets are now in the cold frame, watered and ready to germinate. And then hopefully when they've germinated, I shall hang them up. I hope you can just see. I shall put them on Crystal Palace just like those two are there. You can see that the far one is much further on and is just starting to flower. And then this one here is they're just starting to grow there. And then the next two will go over towards that side. So I'll have a sort of succession of peas. Well, that's the idea anyway. And then just looking at my potatoes, they're all earthed up, ready to go. I just let them get on with it now. And yeah, pretty good day's work. And my kumara harvest is pretty amazing. Come and have a look at this. So I've put them out here drying this afternoon in the sun. It's been a beautiful sunny day, so they've been drying in the sun. But yeah, not bad for zero work and a sprouting kumara. And actually, having seen the price of kumara, it's unbelievable. There's real scarcity of it in New Zealand at the moment due to the floods that we had, which basically washed out all the crops. So yeah, sort of like gold dust these actually. So I'm pretty pleased with that. We're going to have a little bit for our tea, I think. Okay, so it's the next day now. I didn't actually get around to sowing those seeds yesterday, so I thought I'd do it today. The rain's held off for a bit longer, so I thought I'd get on. Here's my list. I've got my list of what I'm going to sow. So, and here are my seeds. Somebody was actually asking me the other day where I keep my seeds, so I thought I'd show you. I keep my seeds in the fridge. So I have this Tupperware container, this sort of closed-in dark Tupperware container. I also have seeds there. These are my beans. So these are broad beans and different those are runner beans, blue leg beans. So I keep my beans in jars generally, and these are the rest of my seeds up here. And that means that they stay dark, they stay cool, and that's actually a sealed container, so they also stay dry. And chocker, absolutely chocker. So I've just got all my new seeds as well for this year. So it's really stuffed in there. These are those little gel sachets, and they just sort of absorb the moisture. So I keep those, there's a few of them in there with all my seeds. By the end of the season, there'll be a few less seeds in there. So I don't have that many seeds, but if they don't all fit, what I'll do is I'll keep the current seeds that I'm using frequently and sowing in the garden. I'll keep that in another tin. If we're coming into the summer and I'm planting my summer seeds, I'll keep my winter seeds, my brassicas and things in here, and vice versa when we get to the other part of the year. I have my homemade labels here, and these are an old Venetian blind, one of those little sort of aluminium Venetian blinds. They were in the house when we moved in, and I've kept one, and I basically just cut off little sections and then trim a point onto the end, and they fit absolutely perfectly into the edge of these little module trays. That these are, I've just picked out of the sort of the recycle box at the garden centre. They have a big box outside where you're supposed to put your old pots, presumably from the things you bought from them. I tend to take them out of there and use the ones that I need. So I've got a nice little collection of those for free, which was great. And then these again came in the house for free. I just chop the bottoms off and stick those in with my label markings on there. So what are we sowing today? I've got eggplant baby brinjal. Hopefully you can see that one. And I'm sowing 2 of those. They're for the indoor garden. I also have, I'm going to do another aubergine for the eggplant for the indoor garden, and that's an organic long purple. So those are my 2 eggplants. There's 2 each of those, Then I need to do a whole bunch of onions. So I've got some onions there, red amposta, some red onions, and I also have some white onions. Which are those? Oh yes, these are from a friend, extra seeds. So Pukikoi long keeper. I don't know why I'm showing you that. It's an envelope with some very bad handwriting on it. So those are the other onions. I also need to sow some parsley. So these parsley seeds are from Sentinels Group, sentinelsgroup.co.nz. They're an interesting group of people who basically just grow seeds and sell them online. And then obviously we're getting into the tomatoes. The tomatoes? Yes, tomatoes for the indoor garden. So I have 3 different sorts, I think. Yes, I've got tomato golden cascade, and then I have, this is another Sentinels seed. It's a sub-Arctic maxi. So that apparently is a really, it can grow quite early in quite cold conditions, so I'm growing that. And then I have this one, which is an F1. I don't usually get F1s, but I particularly wanted some sort of dwarf bush type, rather than the usual cordon ones that go really tall. I wanted the smaller bush ones to grow in the conservatory. So this one is a Sederno F1. Okay, so what I've also got is capsicum. It's a Cornos red. Now I can't remember if that's the paprika pepper or not. Maybe. I tend to not double guess myself at this point, because I've done all the planning on using my spreadsheet system that I've developed, and I do all the planning and all the thinking and all that sort of mental stuff then, and then I just follow the plan. So I tend to do a no-brainer, sort of like, okay, 3 of those, 6 of those, do that, and I just follow it. So it's easy in the garden. I don't have to scratch my head and think about really what I'm doing. Incidentally, I have got another Planning for Continuous Harvests online workshop coming up. I think that's at the end of August. So if you're interested in learning about how I grow for continuous harvests all year round and the planning system that I use, please go over to Secret Gardens. I'll put a link in the contents below, and have a look at that workshop, because I'm running another one at the end of August. So come along, I'll talk you through all about how I do it, and you also have get a download copy of my template that you can adapt to your own garden, which makes it very easy. You don't need to work it all out for yourself. You can basically just put your own garden in the system and then go. So anyway, that's enough of that. Cornus red, that's the pepper. Then we've got, of course, bright lights. I always like to do that sort of, there's rainbow charred, rainbow lights. It's always the same sort of thing, isn't it? Just charred of multiple colours, and we love that. It looks so beautiful in the garden, and we really enjoy it as well, eating it. So that's the other one I'm growing. Right, so first of all, I'm just going to write out all my labels, so I'm ready to go with, and essentially the information that I put on my labels is what it is, how many of them I need, and what bed it's going into. And that's the only information I put on here, because all the rest of it is held in the spreadsheet. And then when I come to plant out the bed, I just pick up all of the seedlings that have that bed name on it, and then go over and put them in the ground. Anyway, I'll get on. Okay, on with the sowing. What's first? Parsley and aubergine. Aubergine, parsley. I'm going to sow quite a few parsley because the seed's a bit old, so I don't know if I'm going to get great germination on it. I tend to just sprinkle the seeds on and then sort of cover it up just tickle it in with this little pen thing for some of the little seeds or some of the really easy ones to see. Hello Maggie, what are you doing down there? Some of the... Are you trying to be a pain? Are you? Do you want to be in this shot? You just want to stop... You just want to stop me doing these seeds, don't you? What you doing, Mum? What you doing? What you doing? I'm sowing some seeds, sweetie. Yes, I am. Do you want to join in? Mag is a keen gardener. Only when she wants to go for a walk. I think you're going to have to go down, sweetie. I can't do it with you then. I don't think it'll work. But we'll try. We'll try then. Okay. Right. So let's do that one. Now we'll do red onions. No, you'll have to go down. I can't do this. There you go. I use these paper clips because it's the only way I've found to sort of seal these seeds, because I do like the king seeds because you don't have like a paper thing and then a foil thing inside. But the thing is you're supposed to chop it off at the bottom, which means that all the seeds will fall out, surely. So the only system I've come up with is sort of folding it over like that and then just putting a paper clip on it. And then obviously when the packet's finished, I save the paper clip and use it on a different packet. But that's the only solution I've come up with for these king seeds packets. If anybody's come up with any other ideas or other clever ways of sealing these packets, please let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested. That's the only way I've come up with to do it. Right, let's have a little look at some with onion seeds. They're very dark and they're a little bit small. I'm going to cover the whole area, so I will actually put soil on top of these ones. It's an easier way of doing it. And then with these ones, with this one, I don't want a bit of wood in there, with these ones I'll just basically put some soil over the top. The only problem is that the compost, the potting mix, composty stuff that I'm using has sort of bits of stick in it, so it's not ideal. I probably could sieve it and do all that, but yeah. I'm pretty lazy in my garden technique. It seems to work, so I don't go mad with those types of things. That seems to work. Right, just pat it down a little bit so that you've got good contact with the seeds and the soil. And then maybe we'll just pop those on the ground, whoop, out of the way, and then do the next ones. With rainbow chard, I do tend to sow more than I need because I like to pick the colours that I want. Because you get a lot of seeds. I mean, we couldn't possibly eat this much chard, and also the chard lasts for ages. There. Excuse me, Maggie. Let's put that down there. Right, let's go. Tomatoes! Exciting! Tomatoes! So 2 of each. I need 2 of each sort. So I'm going to be sowing 4 of each to make sure I get germination, because it's quite early in the season, so you know they might not be that keen on germinating. They will sit in here in my lounge where it's nice and warm, so they should germinate pretty well. But even so, most of my tomatoes are just saved seed. These ones particularly I got last year because they're bush varieties, but a lot of the ones that I grow in the garden, I just save the seeds from year on, you know, year after year, and then they just go in, so it costs me nothing. And I've got heaps and heaps and heaps of them. So that's pretty exciting. The first of the summer crops sown. Now we just wait for germination and fingers crossed. What do you think, Maggie? Is it time for a walk now? Is it? She's so, I think so, I think so. Okay, let me put my seeds away and then we'll go. Anyway, that's pretty much what I'm doing in the garden this time of year, so I hope that's of interest to you. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, then do put it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make a video of it. I will see you next time, so yeah, start thinking about what you can put in the ground. Exciting!